Here are my top 5 ways to regulate my nervous system, create a sense of safety internally, and also reduce pain symptoms. So let's get into it. Even though rarely I have pain symptoms, I still need to be diligent about regulating my nervous system and creating a sense of safety so that I can maintain my recovery from neuroplastic pain or mind body concerns. And so, this list of 5 ways to regulate yourself, these are things that I try to do on a daily basis and that I found really helpful. So, let's get into the list. So, number one is self compassion. Now, you've probably heard me talk a lot about self compassion on this channel, but it's really important for our recovery. And for myself, I try to do at least 1 or 2 self compassion meditations a day. Sometimes it's just as simple as attending to my breath, kind of breathing into areas that are uncomfortable, almost breathing, carrying air into them. And sometimes I use soothing touch, which I've talked about, like your hand on your chest, your arms, or your hands around your arms, and just practicing soothing myself and caring for myself internally. And I need to practice this. I can be really self critical and have a lot of shame when I make mistakes. I know this is really common for people in the mind body community, but I feel a lot of shame and inappropriate guilt even when I make small mistakes. And so doing self compassion consistently starts to change the way I relate to myself. And that's what I'm going for. Self compassion in the moment might reduce suffering, right? But, a lot of gurus of self compassion, big psychologists out there like Kristen Neff and Christopher Germer, have talked about if you can do this consistently, you start to relate to yourself differently. And I feel that. Now, when I make mistakes, yeah, there might be some shame or guilt still. I'm still working on it, but there's less. And that's what we're going for. And so, check out my other videos on self compassion where I explain it further. But self compassion is vital. When we're in a moment of suffering in life, nothing's going to make us feel safer than having a compassionate response towards ourselves. And so try practicing sprinkling in self compassion throughout your day. Number two, movement. When we're recovering from neuroplastic pain, movement can feel really scary. And I get that. It is scary. I was barely moving my upper body and barely walking by the end of my chronic pain journey. And I was terrified, truly. I was terrified to even move my body at all. But we need to slowly move towards this because movement in itself actually helps regulate our nervous system. There's a lot of evidence out there to show the benefits in terms of mental health and even healing trauma with doing certain types of movement. And when we think about why we want to recover, I always think about, I wanted to be pain free because I wanted to feel free. I wanted to use my body the way I wanted to, and I wanted to be happy and playful in life. And all of this includes an element of moving our body a lot of the time. And so you can start small. Like at first, I would walk around the block. That was my big exercise because I was barely walking at all. But it felt good. Even as I started to do it and my fear of the pain started to reduce, I felt more and more free. And even in my life currently, right? Like I'm pretty active. I've worked towards this, working out consistently, probably 4 or 5 times a week. But I also have been experimenting with yoga, doing yoga in the morning. Yoga, there's so much evidence that big trauma researchers have done on just the effects yoga can have on reducing trauma symptoms. And, for myself, I find that if I do yoga in the morning, it kind of sets the pace for the day. I actually feel way more regulated. And when, things fall apart or life gets messy, I feel like I'm more able to handle it. And the research kind of supports this. And so I'm not saying you need to do yoga or any type of movement. That's not my place. But starting to work towards movement can be a really important part of recovery and can start to create these feelings of freedom and happiness that we kind of really want when we've been in chronic pain for a long time. Number three, validating your emotions and then giving space to allow yourself to feel them. This is so important. We are never going to feel safe with emotions if we don't at least start with validating them, making them valid, that they make sense, that other people would feel this way as well. I think about myself, I went through most of my life up until this point invalidating my emotions. Any stressful situation, I would almost tell myself, I shouldn't feel this way. Other people wouldn't feel this way. I need to handle this better. And the problem with that is it just increases the level of danger that your nervous system is feeling because you're not honoring how you actually feel inside. And so we need to start with actually validating that it makes sense that we feel this way and that it's okay that we do. Throughout our day, human beings are messy. I'm messy. As I go throughout my day, my emotions can be messy. I can feel sadness or anger or rage or despair at points. And that's normal. That's part of being a human being. But to create a sense of safety in your nervous system and to help the emotional parts of your brain feel safe, we need to start with validating our emotions. And then this opens us up to actually allowing them to occur in our body. Number four actually leads in from validating our emotions. So, number four is starting to attend to sensations in our body with lightness, ease, and curiosity. We need to learn to connect to our body and attend to pain sensations, physical sensations, or the sensations of emotions with curiosity, ease, and a lightness. A lot of times, for most of my life, I felt terrified to go in my body. I felt terrified to feel any sensations at all because I just viewed them all as so dangerous. But after you validated your emotions, you actually kind of set the stage where it's okay for you to start to experience them. Now, especially when we're doing this at first, we need to go slow, right? Don't start to attend to your body in the middle of a panic attack. That's not going to feel safe. Even when I've had moments of panic in the past, I don't focus inward. At that point, we need to avoid. A little avoidance is okay, but we need to learn to attend to sensations in our body and learn to feel safe with them. And by doing this and having this lens of safety with sensations we're experiencing, we can actually start to regulate our nervous system. And even when we have extreme emotions, we're easier to come back down the baseline. And we're not kind of caught up in a high alert, highly anxious zone for a long period of time. And number five, reduce the pressure you put on yourself. I think this is such an important element to mind body healing. Whether it's putting the pressure on your healing journey that you need to be, at a certain place, you've set a deadline of when you need to be pain free or fully working out, that creates a lot of pressure. But it's also in daily life, right? I can promise you, first off, I didn't recover putting a bunch of pressure on the process. That's not how it worked for me. And for people that I work with, the more pressure they put on it, the slower the results are. But I think in life as a whole, we also need to consider how much pressure we put on ourselves. I had this horrible habit of like the night before, going to work the next day, I would make this immense to-do list. And it's not even a to-do list. It was like I have to do list. I don't know if that's a word, but it was like things I have to do. And the list was enormous. It would have taken three of me to actually complete everything on the list. And the problem is as soon as I would start in the morning then, I felt the pressure. I felt on high alert. And I know for myself, the more pressure I put on myself, the more likely it is that pain symptoms will start to creep back in. So I need to reduce the pressure. Even today when I started, I kind of make, I would like to do list almost. I would like to do these things, but there's no expectation, you know? Of course, there's certain things in our life that we have to do on certain days, but some things, a lot of things actually, we don't need to. We don't need to put that pressure and expectation. And I find actually by reducing the pressure, I tend to get more done because I'm spending less time in this fearful zone of panicking that I'm not getting things done. But in your life, start to reduce the pressure you put on yourself, the expectations you put on yourself, because this can also create a sense of safety. So I hope this list of 5 ways to regulate your nervous system and create a sense of safety was helpful. Please put your questions or comments down below, hit the like button, and subscribe to my channel as I'm going to release videos every week talking about neuroplastic pain and mind body concerns. Take care.